In the world of music, there are certain figures who are so influential that their reach extends far beyond their songs. Sean Combs, better known as P Diddy, is one of those figures. For decades, Diddy has been a dominant force in the music industry, launching the careers of some of the biggest names in hip-hop and R&B. But behind the glitz and glamour of his success, a dark cloud has always lingered, a cloud that has now become impossible to ignore. New evidence suggests that Diddy may have been involved in the untimely death of the beloved R&B singer Aaliyah. For years, Aaliyah's tragic death in a plane crash on August 25, 2001, has been attributed to pilot error and overloaded luggage. The singer, just 22 years old at the time, was on the brink of superstardom, and her death shocked the world. Fans mourned her passing, believing it to be a heartbreaking accident. But recent revelations have cast doubt on the official story. Investigators have uncovered a series of disturbing connections that point to Diddy as a key figure in orchestrating her death, driven by jealousy, greed, and a desire to control the music industry's most promising talents. Aaliyah Donna Houghton was more than just a singer, she was a cultural icon in the making. With her smooth vocals, ethereal beauty, and effortless style, Aaliyah had captured the hearts of millions. She was poised to become one of the biggest stars of her generation, with a successful music career and burgeoning acting prospects. Her collaborations with Timbaland and Missy Elliott redefined the sound of R&B, and her acting roles in films like Romeo Must Die had shown that she was just as talented on screen as she was in the studio. But Aaliyah's ascent to fame was not without controversy. Her early career had been marked by her secret marriage to R. Kelly, a relationship that sparked outrage and legal battles. As she grew older, Aaliyah distanced herself from Kelly, focusing on her music and acting career. By 2001, she was working on her third album, Aaliyah, and preparing for her breakout role in the film Queen of the Damned. Behind the scenes, however, tensions were brewing. Diddy, who had always prided himself on discovering and managing the biggest names in music, saw Aaliyah as both a threat and an opportunity. He had tried multiple times to sign her to his Bad Boy Records label, but she remained loyal to her mentor, Barry Hankerson, and her label, Blackground Records. This rejection did not sit well with Diddy, who was known for his ruthless business tactics and desire to control every aspect of his artists' careers. Diddy's rivalry with Aaliyah's camp was not widely known, but insiders in the music industry were well aware of the tension. According to several sources, Diddy viewed Aaliyah as the crown jewel of R&B, and he was determined to either bring her into his fold or ensure that her star did not outshine his own. His empire was built on controlling the careers of artists like Biggie Smalls, Faith Evans, and 112. And he was not accustomed to being denied. One former Bad Boy Records executive, speaking anonymously, recalled a heated conversation between Diddy and Hankerson in the months leading up to Aaliyah's death. Diddy was furious, the executive said. He wanted Aaliyah on Bad Boy, and when Barry refused, Diddy made it clear that he would do whatever it took to make sure Aaliyah didn't become bigger than his artists. The rivalry took on a darker tone when Aaliyah began dating Damon Dash, a music executive and co-founder of Rockefeller Records. Dash and Diddy had a long-standing feud that dated back to their early days in the industry, and Aaliyah's relationship with Dash only intensified the animosity. Diddy, who had been known to hold grudges, saw Aaliyah's success as a personal affront. In August 2001, Aaliyah traveled to the Bahamas to shoot the music video for her single Rock the Boat. The shoot was supposed to be a celebration of her success, but it quickly became a nightmare. On August 25th, after the video shoot wrapped, Aaliyah and her entourage board a small Cessna 402 billion aircraft to return to the United States. The plane crashed shortly after takeoff, killing everyone on board. The official investigation attributed the crash to a combination of pilot error and overloading. The pilot, Luis Morales III, was later found to have traces of cocaine and alcohol in his system, and the plane was significantly over its weight limit. But now, 2 decades later, new evidence has emerged that suggests the crash may not have been an accident at all. In 2023, an anonymous whistleblower, identified only as Y, came forward with bombshell information. Y, a former associate of Diddy, claimed that the crash had been orchestrated by Diddy himself. According to Y, Diddy had arranged for the plane to be sabotaged after learning that Aaliyah was planning to leave her management and take full creative control of her career, a move that would have made her one of the most powerful figures in the music industry. Y revealed that Diddy had connections to the aviation company that owned the Cessna 402 billion and had secretly paid off key individuals to ensure that Aaliyah's plane would never make it back to the US. Diddy didn't just want to control Aaliyah's career, he wanted to end it, Y said. He saw her as a threat, and he knew that if she took control of her own career, she would surpass everyone, including him. Y's testimony was chilling. He described a meeting that took place just weeks before Aaliyah's death, in which Diddy allegedly laid out his plan to eliminate her. He said it had to look like an accident, Y recalled. No one could suspect foul play. It had to be clean. Investigators have since re-examined the wreckage of the plane, and what they found has raised even more questions. Forensic experts discovered anomalies in the plane's fuel system and engine, suggesting that the aircraft may have been tampered with. In particular, they found evidence of sabotage in the fuel line, which would have caused the plane to lose power shortly after takeoff, consistent with the crash's timeline. The investigation also uncovered suspicious financial transactions in the days leading up to the crash. Large sums of money had been transferred from accounts linked to Diddy's various business ventures to offshore accounts connected to individuals in the Bahamas. These payments, investigators believe, were part of a larger scheme to bribe those involved in the maintenance and operation of the plane. As the investigation into Aaliyahs' death continues, the revelations about Diddy's possible involvement have sent shockwaves through the music industry. Fans who once saw Diddy as a visionary now view him as a calculating figure willing to go to any lengths to maintain his empire. The story of Aaliyah's tragic death has taken on a new, darker meaning, a tale of power, jealousy, and betrayal. For those closest to Aaliyah, the revelations have been devastating. Damon Dash, who was preparing to propose to Aaliyah at the time of her death, has spoken out about his suspicions. "I always felt like something wasn't right," Dash said in an emotional interview. "Well, Aaliyah was too smart to get caught up in something like this. Now, knowing that someone might have wanted her gone, it's heartbreaking. And the world waits for the final conclusions of the investigation, but one thing is certain: the story of Aaliyahs' death is far from over. What was once believed to be a tragic accident now appears to be the result of a carefully calculated plot, one that has implicated one of the most powerful men in music." As the investigation into Aaliyah's death deepened, more chilling details emerged. The whistleblower Y continued to cooperate with authorities, providing crucial information that linked Diddy to the sabotage of the Cessna 402 billion. Y's testimony revealed a dark web of corruption, where Diddy had allegedly used his influence to ensure Aaliyah's death was written off as an accident. As it became clear that this was no ordinary case, the level of cover-up involved suggested that powerful players had conspired to protect Diddy's empire. The forensic evidence discovered in the wreckage, including the tampered fuel line, was sent to an independent laboratory for further testing. The results were damning. The lab confirmed that the plane had been intentionally sabotaged. Experts testified that the damage to the fuel system could not have been caused by regular wear and tear or pilot error. Someone had deliberately compromised the aircraft. In addition to the forensic evidence, investigators discovered a series of encrypted communications between Diddy and his associates. These messages, retrieved from old phone records and meticulously decrypted, contained discussions about the upcoming music video shoot and Aaliyah's planned return flight to the U.S. The most incriminating message was one sent the day before Aaliyah's death: "Make sure everything is set for tomorrow." It needs to look clean. This message, along with others, suggested that Diddy had orchestrated the sabotage and coordinated with people on the ground in the Bahamas. The involvement of local officials and airline employees, who had allegedly been bribed to look the other way, pointed to a highly organized operation. The case was rapidly becoming one of the most explosive scandals in music history. As the investigation unfolded, Aaliyah's family, who had always been suspicious of the circumstances surrounding her death, began to push for answers. Aaliyah's uncle and former manager, Barry Hankerson, was particularly vocal. In interviews with major media outlets, Hankerson expressed his belief that Diddy had orchestrated Aaliyah's death out of jealousy and greed. He saw her as a threat, Hankerson said. Aaliyah was about to become one of the biggest stars in the world, and he couldn't handle that. Hankerson's claims were supported by Damon Dash, who revealed that Aaliyah had confided in him about her concerns regarding Diddy. Since, according to Dash, Aaliyah had been increasingly uneasy in the months leading up to her death, particularly after learning that Diddy was trying to poach her for Bad Boy Records. She told me that Diddy was making moves behind the scenes, Dash said. That he was trying to get her away from Blackground, and when she refused, things started to get weird. While the family's demand for justice added fuel to the growing media firestorm. As public outrage mounted, fans rallied around Aaliyah's legacy, demanding that Diddy be held accountable for his role in her death. The hashtag #JusticeForAaliyah began trending on social media, with millions of people sharing memories of the singer and calling for a full investigation. By late 2024, the investigation had reached its climax. The FBI, working alongside Bahamian authorities, had gathered enough evidence to move forward with charges against Diddy. On December 5, 2024, Sean P. Diddy Combs was arrested at his mansion in Los Angeles on charges of conspiracy to commit murder, manslaughter, and obstruction of justice. The arrest was a seismic event in the music world. Diddy, who had once been untouchable, now faced the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars. Media outlets from around the world descended on Los Angeles, covering every moment of the high-profile arrest. Helicopters hovered overhead. As Diddy was escorted from his home in handcuffs, his expression blank and unreadable. Inside the courtroom, the prosecution laid out its case in meticulous detail. Ada Carla Mendez, who had gained a reputation for taking down high-profile defendants, was leading the charge. Mendez outlined the conspiracy, explaining how Diddy had used his influence and financial power to orchestrate Aaliyah's death and cover up the truth for more than 2 decades. The evidence is clear, Mendez told the jury in her opening statement. Sean Combs arranged for Aaliyah's plane to be sabotaged because he saw her as a threat to his empire. This was a cold, calculated act of murder disguised as a tragic accident. The trial of Sean Combs, which began in January 2025, was nothing short of a media sensation. Reporters filled the courtroom, and the proceedings were broadcast live, with millions of viewers tuning in to watch as the case unfolded. Public opinion was deeply divided. While some believed in Diddy's innocence, others were convinced that he was guilty of orchestrating one of the most heinous crimes in the history of the music industry. The prosecution's case relied heavily on the forensic evidence and the testimony of Y, the whistleblower. Y took the stand, detailing how Diddy had coordinated the sabotage and bribed key individuals to cover up the crime. The prosecution also presented the decrypted messages, which they argued were proof of Diddy's involvement in the conspiracy. One of the most dramatic moments of the trial came when forensic experts testified about the plane's tampered fuel line. The experts explained that the sabotage had been deliberate and expertly carried out, leaving no room for doubt that the crash had been orchestrated. The prosecution also called several witnesses who had worked at the aviation company that owned the Cessna 402 billion. These witnesses testified that they had received bribes from Diddy's associates to overlook safety concerns on the plane. On the defense side, Diddy's high-profile legal team worked tirelessly to discredit the prosecution's witnesses. They argued that Ye's testimony was unreliable, suggesting that he was a disgruntled former employee looking for revenge. They also pointed to the fact that the official investigation in 2001 had ruled the crash an accident, questioning why it had taken so long for this new evidence to surface. Here, Diddy himself took the stand, delivering an emotional defense. He denied any involvement in Aaliyah's death, insisting that he had always respected her as an artist and had nothing to gain from her demise. Aaliyah was a star, Diddy told the jury. I had no reason to hurt her. What happened was a tragedy, but it wasn't my doing. After months of testimony, the jury finally began deliberations in April 2025. The world held its breath as they debated whether to convict one of the most powerful figures in music. Public opinion was split, with many wondering whether Diddy's influence and wealth would protect him from justice once again. After 5 days of deliberation, the jury returned with its verdict. We, the jury, find the defendant, Sean Combs, guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. The courtroom erupted in gasps as the verdict was read. Diddy, who had remained calm throughout the trial, showed no visible reaction as he was declared guilty. His legal team quickly moved to appeal the decision, but the damage had been done. Sean Combs, once the king of hip-hop, had been convicted of orchestrating the death of Aaliyah. Diddy was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His empire, which had once been a symbol of success and power, collapsed almost overnight. Bad Boy Records, already struggling in the wake of the trial, officially shuttered its doors. Business ventures that had once brought in millions were abandoned, and investors fled, unwilling to be associated with the disgraced mogul. For Aaliyah's family and fans, the verdict brought a sense of closure, but it also reopened old wounds. The world had lost a bright star, and while justice had finally been served, the pain of Aaliyah's death would never fully heal. In the end, the story of Sean Combs and Aaliyah was a cautionary tale about the dark side of the music industry. Behind the glamour and success, there was a world of greed, power, and betrayal, a world where even the brightest stars could be extinguished by those who sought to control them.